AMD's Ryzen 5000 processors have integrated graphics, and they're even better than we realize.
And just wanted to let all of you guys know, don't buy used GPUs anytime soon.
And lastly, in the weird tech news corner, Home Depot is coming out with what I'm going to call PRM, Physical Rights Management. All that and more on the Tech Summit Podcast, episode 60. I'm Chris.
I'm Francisco, and if you're watching on YouTube, then do make sure to check out the social media that is going to be right below over here on the screen.
And of course, if you are listening in on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts, all of that stuff is going to be in the respective descriptions.
That's right, and I wanted to give it. I wanted to give a very special shout out to our patrons, beginning with the tier 3s, which in this case are going to be Omar, Sara, Wazel, and Joe Mas. Thank you so much for all of your support on that end. And for the tier 2s, we've got Rix Rocks, Maury, C. Oh man, so many more. Hang on. As per usual.
Luke?
Uh, actually, not anymore.
Oh no.
Yeah. But let's see. The list is somewhere around here. Like, this is what people come here for. To watch me fumble over this. But I got it. I'm almost up to where the list is. I'm almost there. Just give me a moment. Okay. Armani and Dizzy YTT. Thank you so much for all your support, because it really does go a very long way. So thank you. It is very much appreciated. And now, just wanted to let you guys know. So far, if you are a patron, then yes, you have already been automatically entered for the giveaway of the white Razer Siren Mini. And you also get to win one piece of merch on top of that. So we get one winner out of all of the patrons, and then that person gets to win a brand new microphone, and they also get to win a piece of merch from the Tech Summit merch store. So yeah, if any of you are interested, then do make sure to pledge over to the Patreon. We would very much appreciate it. There are also some other perks. Christopher, I hand it to you.
Yes, of course. Also on the Patreon is bonus uncensored episodes of the podcast where we say bad words. Plus, you can get access to Tech Summit reviews earlier than they are on YouTube.
That's right. And I am going to start announcing when those videos go out, just like 2 days earlier, also on YouTube for patrons and things like that. So do keep an eye out for that as well. And yeah, I mean that way you will know what's coming ahead of time. But with that said, I think it's time to jump right into the news.
Of course. Now, so we're going to be quoting from two different articles here, actually.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to be quoting from The Verge and Tom's Hardware. The Verge kind of giving us a little bit of a light primer, and then Tom's Hardware going into the nitty-gritty stats for nerds here. But, quoting from The Verge specifically here, AMD's Ryzen 5000 processors with integrated graphics are now available to buy. Quoting directly from the article, in April, AMD announced the versions of its Ryzen 5000 desktop CPUs with integrated graphics cards, but only made them available for pre-built OEM systems, promising that it would sell the chips to consumers later. Well, later is now, with AMD offering its Ryzen 5000 G series APUs for anyone to buy, not just multi-million-dollar PC manufacturers.
Yay!
So currently, they only have 2 of the G series chips available to purchase on the AMD website. The 8-core Ryzen 7 5700G for $359, and the 6-core Ryzen 5 5600G for $259. Both chips, like the standard Ryzen 5000 CPUs, are built on AMD's 7 nanometer process with its Zen 3 architecture.
What about the Ryzen 3 5300G? Is that one not available yet?
Not yet.
Okay.
It's just these two models, the more powerful ones in the lineup. The others are still listed as OEM only, and the 35-watt GE versions of the 5700G and 5600G don't seem to be available to purchase yet either.
Okay. Interesting. So far, all that we really have were just the 5700G and the 5600G.
Correct. the two more powerful models with integrated graphics, of course.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's you see, like this is actually a pretty cool thing because you obviously GPUs are very tough to get your hands on right now. Uh, so now if you're building a PC, you can skip over on getting a GPU for the time being and just stick to integrated graphics. We do have still some pretty powerful CPUs over here. Like for instance, the Ryzen 7 5700G retails for $359, which is, at about what you would expect. In terms of cores, we've got 8 cores and 16 threads, and the base clock speed is going to be 3.8. This is still a 65 watt TDP CPU, and when it comes to its GPU or integrated graphics, in this case, it is running RX Vega 8. The Ryzen 5 5600X the Ryzen 5 5600G on the other hand is running RX Vega 7, so it's not going to be quite the same. And this is a 6-core, 12-thread CPU, and still the same TDP of 65 watts. And this one is retailing for $100 less for $259. So the prices are pretty much as expected. I am glad that they're not like raising the prices of these CPUs just because now they have integrated graphics. However, you did mention before that these integrated GPUs, or well, just graphics, are actually fairly impressive.
Oh yes, if you look at the Tom's Hardware link that I've sent to you in the Tech Summit super discreet carrier pigeon system, you can actually see some of the benchmarks that they ran in Tom's Hardware for this machine, for these CPUs. Just to put in perspective here, using a game that you've tested before on machines on your channel, Shadow of the Tomb Raider, the 5700G can get 43.7 frames per second on average at 1080p on the lowest settings, which for integrated graphics feels really impressive.
Shadow of the Tomb Raider is also a pretty demanding game, like in the sense that, like that game in particular would very much benefit from having dedicated graphics. So yeah, like this is actually pretty impressive. I want to say it still feels a little bit underwhelming, like hearing that at the lowest settings, 1080p.
You do have to, well, of course, you do have to consider it is in fact a integrated graphics. It's not going to replace dedicated graphics whatsoever. But the
Right.
fact that you can get 43 frames per second at 1080p or 72 frames per second on 720p, again, using integrated graphics is like, I think it's very impressive.
It is still pretty impressive, yeah. I definitely agree with you there. Now, like this is specifically referencing the 5700G, right?
Correct.
Okay.
If you want another popular game example, GTA 5
Mhm.
on 1080p can run, again, lowest settings, can run up to 115 frames per second.
That's pretty sick. It's a much older game, but a lot of people still
Wait,
play
hold
it
on.
today. So, so the fact that it can
Excuse
run
me.
at such a high frame rate, yeah.
Excuse me, I am incorrect. It is 100 frames per second.
It's less than
Because
half.
interestingly enough, Tom's Hardware decided to show off specs for a combo that is more powerful than the integrated graphics for some reason. The 115 frames per second is achieved by a Core i5 11400 with a GT 1030. So like there
Damn
is still
it.
dedicated graphics there, but
I want to know how it runs on a 1010. Why are they depriving me of this information?
what about the what was that, the 570 they had recently released again?
570. Something like that, I think. Like, was it a 570? I don't remember if it was a 570 or if it was a 710. I think it may have been a 710, actually. Like a GT 710 from NVIDIA. I think MSI was probably the one to release those GPUs saying, hey guys, like you're looking for a graphics card. Here, take it, fine, whatever. pretty sure.
Right.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was the GT 710. The GT 1010 is actually pretty recent. It's one of the more recent GPUs that we were memeing on just a couple of months ago.
Course, yes.
Yeah,
But I'm looking at other charts here, and the 5700G, compared to discrete GPUs, um, it performs better than a GT 1030, just slightly below an RX 560, but like it's good. Integrated graphics, this is good.
it
I
is.
remember years ago, back in the day, you have integrated graphics, you Intel HD integrated graphics in a laptop, and like all you could really expect to be playing is like 2D pixel indie games,
Yeah.
not Assassin's Creed Valhalla, which is once again 51 frames per second at 720p on the low settings.
Wow. It's playable.
It it's that's the thing, it's playable.
Yeah.
Like obviously you're going to want to get, actual integrated, excuse me, dedicated graphics, but like you mentioned, there's a huge shortage of these things. And so like for a lot of people, this is an option for gaming.
Yeah. Like this is a genuine attempt at making integrated graphics a decent option. And not to mention that again, like the prices at least at MSRP have remained just about the same. I do suspect that the scalpers are going to be all over this, considering that it's like, oh no, they won't be buying our GPUs if they have integrated graphics. They don't need a separate graphics engine yet, at least. So we need to take over these.
So because you mentioned the scalpers, and it's also something that I was thinking about myself, I decided to go onto eBay and see if there's any scalping going on, and a little bit.
I'm going on there too. Hang on.
A
Oh
little
my
bit.
goodness.
Not too much, because the first two results that I'm getting are authorized AMD dealers, including Newegg, and they are for like relatively MSRP or slightly close to that. But you do have a couple of scalpers who are trying to sell one for 550 or 400.
Yeah, I'm seeing that. There's one guy that's being generous enough to sell it for 370. Like it's just $10 more over MSRP, so there's that. You know. Oh no, wait, that's actually Newegg.
That's what I'm saying. Like that's
Whoops. I got you now. I thought it was like somebody else, but
is generous to avoid scalper prices.
I mean, technically they are still scalping it a little bit. I mean, it's just like a very minor price hike, so it doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things.
The way I'm trying to look at it is that extra $20 is the shipping cost that would have been there, and they're offering free shipping. So
Oh yeah, they are offering free shipping. Wait a second, then it's not free shipping. You're still paying for the shipping.
it's tax.
It's man. I mean, okay, so like scalping at the moment because we do have authorized sellers over here on eBay selling. Even there's actually one that I noticed moving downward a bit. Well, actually quite a bit. Okay, yeah, so right around here, it just says authorized AMD dealer. Full warranty, brand new, but this is actually for the 5800X. This is 379.99, which is pretty all right. So not too many of the G series CPUs being sold at the moment. The ones that are being sold are mostly being scalped, considerably actually. There's one guy that's selling his for $632.
Ouch.
Yeah, pretty bad there. And there's somebody that's selling a whole ass PC, like a pre-built. $800 comes with the 5700G, 16 gigs of RAM, 256 gigs of PCIe SSD storage, 1 terabyte hard drive. Only $30 in shipping. Like this is already a way better value than just buying that CPU by itself. That's for sure.
Of course, easily. I mean, obviously, these CPUs were originally designed for pre-built machines.
Yeah. Yeah, and it definitely makes sense why, because like usually when you want to keep the prices of these pre-built PCs as low as possible, I mean, like you have to think about who is the primary market for a lot of these pre-builds, and they do tend to be older folk, um, and all that they need is just a a computer that can connect to a monitor and that can probably do Microsoft Word and then that can open up your emails and things things like that. So usually having CPUs with integrated graphics, I would say that used to be the norm until they started taking that out um, later on, and it looks like it is making somewhat of a comeback. And I do appreciate seeing that because it is going to help a lot of people that can get all of the other parts just fine, but maybe like the GPUs that they want are pretty tough to get. And this is like a temporary solution, which once paired with an actual graphics card later on, can very much deliver on much nicer results.
I agree. Yeah, it's like yeah, I do agree. Like this is a nice little stopgap, probably for people who do want to be able to still game. And I mean, obviously as a CPU, there's quite a bit of performance still in here.
Hmm.
So it's like it's not even like, oh, it's a waste of time because you would get this now, and then when you actually manage to get dedicated graphics, like, oh, why did I buy this CPU? There's still like actual CPU performance behind this thing. Is it going to be quite as strong as like a dedicated CPU? Maybe not.
Probably not.
Not
I don't think
like
like.
it's a slouch.
Yeah, I mean, like for example, I don't think, at least as far as I have seen, that these CPUs have overclocking capabilities, for example. So that's one thing that could have been removed and like in favor of of being able to add the integrated APU onto it.
Oh, yeah, I feel like if you're trying to overclock it while also having like integrated graphics on it, you probably just melt the whole thing.
Yeah, like I was actually kind of already thinking that this thing will probably get pretty hot. Um, and uh, I mean, I don't know if you're going to require beefy cooler for this or something of the sort. I mean, probably a stock cooler is enough for what it is. I don't think that you'll be able to overclock this. It does have a boost frequency, though, and it can, like the 5700G can go up to 4.6 gigahertz, and the 5600G can go up to 4.4 gigahertz. So either way, you're still getting pretty good performance out of these as CPUs alone, and you can still get some great temporary, though. I want to say, or at least, well, maybe not temporary. Like, what is that word that I'm thinking about?
Placeholder,
Pl-
interim.
yeah, placeholder. Yeah, there you go. Thank you. So yeah, I think that this is a pretty great idea on AMD's end. I don't think Intel is doing anything like this anytime soon. Correct me if I'm wrong, of course, but oh no, actually, I'm entirely wrong because the Core i7-11700K does have UHD graphics. So it does have
Ooh.
integrated graphics, but it doesn't seem like it's really quite as powerful as the 5700G's RX Vega 8 graphics. So yeah, moot point, I suppose. and
And once again, Intel loses out.
Yeah, as per usual. Now, considering that this is going to be a great placeholder for those of you that can't get graphics cards, here's another piece of news that is actually highly relevant to this. I had no idea how relevant it was going to be to this particular piece of news, but this will make for a fantastic
I
transition.
was gonna say it. It's probably better to buy these integrated graphics than to buy an actual dedicated graphics card through certain alternative methods. Tell
Yeah,
us about it.
such as eBay. So, um, it seems that, well, like this is an issue that has actually been going on for a while, but uh, it seems like a lot of miners are selling the GPUs that they're using for mining and trying to make it come across as just like regular graphics cards, like they just used it for gaming or, maybe mining. And uh, people are buying them, and then like it turns out that the graphics card has very little juice left in it. So I guess that you could pretty much say that a lot of people are getting scammed, which is why a lot of manufacturers right now are recommending that you do not buy secondhand GPUs. And this is normally something that I would stand by as well as of around 2016 to 17ish, like when the 10 series GPUs started coming out, and then like Bitcoin mining really became a really big deal. So yeah, I think that you should really try and stay away from secondhand GPUs. I know that it might be tempting considering the current market and all, but you might end up losing a lot more than what you would be gaining if you end up buying it into one of those, considering that if a GPU was used for mining, especially over prolonged periods of time, which, I mean, come on, if you're mining, you are going to leave your machine running for a long period of time at a time, then it's going to have very, very little juice left in terms of just how long it's going to last you, how well it's going to perform. It's not really going to be the same thing anymore if you're buying secondhand. Now, that's not to say that everyone is selling you a bad GPU in that case. It just means that you do come across the issue of, possibly end up buying a GPU that was heavily used for mining, and that is going to hurt performance quite a bit for the graphics card and definitely its lifespan. So what is your take?
You're gambling.
Yeah.
You're absolutely gambling if you're buying a used car. It's this weird notion of like people that just sort of like use up a graphics card for all it's worth until it's burnt down to ash, and then they sell you those ashes. And it's like, well, what did you expect? You bought a graphics card, it's used. Very scummy behavior from crypto miners
Yeah.
here. Not that crypto miners are particularly moral people in many cases, if you ask me.
It depends on the individual, yeah, but like generally
Of course, yeah. I'm,
speaking.
I'm going to paint with. I'm trying not to paint with a hugely broad brush
Mhm.
because it is a thing. You have a lot of people who do this stuff very morally or whatever, whatnot. But like crypto miners as a nebulous whole have contributed a lot towards this scarcity situation, even after scalpers already got in. They're using up a lot of energy towards, mining cryptocurrencies that in many cases aren't very financially viable to do so at this point. A lot of them are probably using up a lot of energy for NFTs now and generating those,
Yeah, a lot of
for
them
a
are.
speculative bubble.
Yeah, a lot of them are probably thinking of leaving
Which
California right now, considering the
I was
the
yeah,
legislature
yeah.
there.
Even though I feel like a lot of them wouldn't be doing this stuff in California, but yeah, which I suppose while we're on this subject of crypto mining, let's do a very minor stock scoop.
Oh, okay.
I'm not near the button, yeah. So
I miss you, Christopher.
so
You know every button on this board.
this is a very brief one, just because we were talking about cryptocurrency. So let's talk a little bit about cryptocurrency. Dogecoin has had a pretty big increase in literally the last like 6 hours.
Wow.
We're
Okay.
talking we're talking about an almost 10% increase. Is currently tracking at around 23.6 cents.
Are there
And
decimals beyond the cents?
hmm?
I'm just like
What's
dumbfounded. I think it's like the first time that I ever hear about something like that. Like after cents, like there's still decimal numbers there. Like you could still
I'm
divide that even further.
I'm putting a theoretical decimal number because if you look at this stuff on like most sites, Dogecoin is tracking at exactly $0.23771. And that was just very much like at that moment it changed as I was saying that, but
I see what you mean.
it's like it goes into multiple decimal places after the two that we're used to for cents.
Mm-hmm.
So like say 23.7805 cents. It's like I if you want, we can round it up 24 cents.
Okay, sure. 24 cents.
We can round it up 24 cents. That is a 15% increase this past week. So after a long period of time of just flailing around into the depths, Dogecoin's trying to sort of crawl itself back up. Bitcoin, meanwhile, has had a 4.87% increase this week. It is currently tracking at $43,458,
Jesus
which
Christ, man. Like it.
I mean, it's a far cry from what it was at 3 months ago.
Yeah, and it's oh man, like it's just such a world-shattering gap between Dogecoin and Bitcoin in terms of value too. Like it's just that contrast is so funny.
Oh, easily. But yeah, like I guess that's gonna conclude the stock scoop right there. If you want to hit that button.
So there we go with the
But
news and stock scoop.
the idea that I'm getting at is like cryptocurrency or values. At least these two particular coins, the big popular ones. The only one I didn't list was Ethereum. They've not been very good necessarily. Like this is the first week or so that we see it starting to actually go up. Before that, it's just been trending downwards consistently for the last 3 months now. Um, so like crypto mining just doesn't feel like a particularly lucrative endeavor unless maybe you're doing NFTs. And even then, NFTs are super speculative, and it's very possible that by like next year we're all over it and that's it, and the money is worthless.
I think it
So
also depends on where you live too, because I mean the price of energy is going to vary like depending on each state, each country as well. Like for instance, I mean, if you ask me, I think that energy in New York City is stupid expensive. But there are other states, like for instance, a certain viewer of mine pointed out that Wyoming is actually a pretty good place for that. So hey, I mean, there's that. It does depend on where you live, where it could end up being more profitable than it would be in some other places. But yeah, like still, it is a gamble nonetheless, no matter how you slice it.
yeah, but like I'm also just thinking it's very nefarious too because now we've been talking about like the energy and environmental impact of using up all that energy to do crypto or NFT stuff. Um, and now you add in another piece of the pile where like a lot of these crypto miners, they'll buy multiple GPUs and use them up and basically turn them into like scrap. The materials, the silicon, all stuff basically being essentially useless because anyone who tries to use the GPU afterwards quickly burns it out entirely. It's it's upsetting like that they use up all of these cards and it's basically just trash destined.
Yeah, essentially. I mean, I want to say that, yeah, it is a waste, but I can see how other people can see that differently. In my opinion, I think that it is kind of a waste to like take these perfectly beautiful GPUs that are now so scarce and that just burning them to the ground like that. I just hope that it is at least profitable before that ends up happening. But yeah,
That's the other thing too. If the GPUs are being used up that quickly, then you have to talk about how like you have to constantly replace them by buying more of them, often from scalper markets at that point. So it's like at that is crypto mining really that profitable when you have to put all those things into factor? I feel like these are people who maybe some of them realize the ways to actually like ensure the profit, but I feel like another chunk of them probably don't realize that they're actually losing money on this. I feel like it's possible.
okay. Yeah, I definitely see that too. And I do know of people that have actually like dabbled into crypto mining. And they've been like digging up cents every day, I think, after leaving their computers running for a long periods of time. So I think that for most people, it's not going to be worth it unless you have something like a 3080 or a 3090. You know, like something that's powerful enough to actually be able to solve more of those computational uh, problems and be able to reward you with a coin of whatever cryptocurrency you're mining for. Hello. Hello. Did we lose you?
Or gamers or people who use this stuff for their actual jobs, don't buy used GPUs. I feel there's a big takeaway right now. Like, it's far too dangerous and risky that you end up getting a used crypto card.
Yeah, agreed. Oh, and by the way, we should have mentioned this a lot earlier, but we are recording this episode completely remotely. So
I feel like that's pretty obvious at this point.
uh, well, to listeners only, they may have not known.
Okay.
Yeah, like there have been like some cutaways or like some moments where like it sounds like you're muted and then like I can hear you again completely. Like just now, I was like, "Hello, did we lose you?"
Oh no.
Yeah. So yeah, like just as a heads up.
Hopefully that won't be an issue anymore once I get faster internet, for I am destined to have faster and hopefully more reliable internet.
Yeah.
Not that we're gonna necessarily make remote episodes too much of a habit. You know, there's still a very once in a blue moon thing.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, no, definitely like sort of just like don't buy used graphics cards because you don't know if, you know, maybe one of these tools already like burnt up all its juices. And speaking of tools,
Wait. I know that it is a very good moment to transition. I'm so sorry, but like
please,
by tools, do you mean the graphics card or the people?
the people, the people.
Okay. All right. Just wanted to clarify that. You may continue. Tell me about Home Depot.
Yes. Speaking of tools, Home Depot feels like they have the one-stop solution to stop shoplifters. So, we're going to be quoting from Business Insider on this one. So, Home Depot plans to foil shoplifters with power tools that will not work if they're stolen. The
Huh.
home improvement chain is unveiling power tools that will not work unless they are properly scanned and activated at the register via Bluetooth technology. If a thief managed to smuggle a power drill out of the store without paying, the drill simply will not turn on. Scott Glenn, Home Depot's vice president of asset protection, told Insider about the company's fight against organized retail crime. He made a point to distinguish between professional shoplifters and disorganized solo thieves. The pros, he said, frequently are connected to a larger network that can sometimes, in some cases, function as a sophisticated shadow business. They are very organized groups where the leaders are at the top of the recruiting, or at the top are recruiting people that are oh, he's using some terms here. I'm going to use the last term. Down on their luck and offering them incentives and providing shopping lists to go out and bring back certain products, Glenn said. At the top of the level of these hierarchies, they're absolutely good administrators that understand the return on them. And he's just talking about organized crime here, but
I see. It just kind of went into like a rant about organized crime. So, okay.
drug dependent and homeless. Okay. Those are his terms. Drug dependent, homeless, and down on their luck.
The verbiage is incredible here. The choice
But
of
either
words.
way, so the idea here is that Home Depot will sell power tools that will only work if they are scanned at the register using Bluetooth technology to ensure that they do not work properly. And I'm sure you can see the big problem here.
They will get around this.
No, not that.
Okay, then what is it? What am I
So I'm
missing?
looking at this. Obviously, again, I use PRM in the little opening bumper because this is basically DRM, but in a physical manifestation.
Wow, that never even clicked for me earlier.
It's PRM.
Okay.
PRM, physical rights management. If you did not purchase this thing legally, you do not get access to use it. Just like how video games use DRM to try and like stop pirates and stuff like that. But that's not even the biggest issue. Although, of course, DRM is dumb. Um, the biggest issue is the Pandora's box this opens, because think about it. This is a power tool line that requires a Bluetooth activation in order to function, correct?
It sounds like it only needs it when being scanned.
Okay, it only needs it when being scanned right now.
Mm-hmm.
But they're using Bluetooth software in there that can enable it to work. But consider the ramifications that you can have by having power tools that require a certain activation in order to be used, and that they do not work if they're not, activated properly. Do you realize what that could mean in the future?
That means that people can end up taking home non-functioning drills by if they're not
No,
scanned properly. Tell me.
subscription services.
Wow, you're
You
really.
pay $30 a month to use your drill, and if you stop paying, the drill stops working. This is the clear path that is being gone down here.
We're headed towards a dystopian society.
We're heading towards a path where a physical tool that you might need to do your job requires a subscription service. And that if you do not pay the subscription fee, your drill doesn't work. Your buzzsaw stops working. That is horrifyingly bad.
I mean, we're talking about the possibility of this happening.
Are you seriously going to tell me that after seeing companies like Adobe and Autodesk and other places get away with things like this,
I mean, that's
that Home
software.
Depot might not try it?
I mean, that's software.
That is software, but nevertheless, it works. And that's the
Yeah.
thing. Hardware is even more vital than software, which means that they can better get away with it. Because, if you don't want to use Photoshop or like, you could find, that's the thing. Pirating software is significantly easier than shoplifting hardware, or like finding workarounds past that restriction. I'm not advocating for either one here. I'm just going to put that disclaimer out there right now. I'm not advocating for piracy. I'm not advocating for shoplifting whatsoever. Don't do that.
In case you
But
need a clarification, guys, but
huh?
I think you're fine.
Like I feel like it's a given. But in the end, it's like the hardware like this is considerably more vital to jobs and stuff like that than that kind of stuff is. And of course, yes, you can in fact argue that like, like, well, people who don't like Adobe, they go to just freeware software somewhere else. And you could just go to a different power drill company. But like Home Depot kind of owned like the big ones. If I recall correctly, DeWalt is owned by Home Depot, and that's like one of the top brands for this stuff.
Yeah, it is. It's definitely like one of the more popular options, and Home Depot's got that secured.
So it's like
Too secured,
the,
maybe.
the fact that we're even running into a sort of like the fact that we're running into an actual theoretical scenario, like it's actually possible now with this technology that you can in fact put a subscription service on power tools is extremely scummy in my opinion. Like, and I know obviously we are just talking theoreticals and that could possibly be just, fear mongering here, but it feels like that's something that actually can happen. And knowing Home Depot and having them see how it's worked in other places, it is entirely possible. Of course, remember, we have to remember that subscription services also exist for physical stuff, your Dollar Shave Clubs, stuff like that. Like, there is a clear model for subscription services. Those are basically the big way of purchasing things at this point. We're increasingly relying on subscription services as opposed to perpetual licenses or buying a thing once and that's it,
Yeah, that's I mean, I guess that it kind of goes back to the whole conversation about digital versus physical in a sense as well, because digital goods you don't actually own, but the physical ones so far, you still own those. Like those are still yours. You buy them once and then that's it. Um,
Exactly.
uh,
And now we're possibly talking about a scenario where this is a physical piece of hardware that you're buying. Keep in mind, power tools are not cheap. You know, you could spend like $250 on a drill, maybe even more than that.
yeah, yeah, you're right.
And then it's like on top of that, you then have to pay a possible subscription fee for, like maybe $10, $20 a month or anything like that to be able to use the device that you
Yeah,
paid for.
the reverse feature. And, like, you can put the screws in, but if you decide, oh no, wait, I have to take this out. Oh snap! I did not pay my subscription service of $14.99 this month. I guess I can't take the screw out. like, like just imagine if they end up locking out features like that.
Yeah, exactly. It's just extremely dangerous. And again, theoretical. Right now, the only thing that's actually confirmed is, again, an attempt to sort of stop shoplifters, which this is actually being rolled out to various stores, with
Hmm.
the intention of going to all of Home Depot's 1,988 stores, so almost 2,000 stores that they have.
I would
Um,
definitely consider this to be a pretty good thing because, I mean, it is helping with theft and like things like drills and things like that, especially like if these drills happen to be like just out in the open, even though they're usually in boxes. I would think that drills would still be a little bit difficult to steal because again, like they're usually in boxes and the boxes are still like fairly large for somebody to just be able to walk away with it unnoticed. But like, let's say that
y-
they take a display unit or something.
I mean, we definitely are on different sides of this because I consider this an extremely bad thing. Um,
Mm.
because of the implications. I will admit it's because of the implication. Like on
It's because
on
of
the
what could
surface
happen, right?
level, on the surface level, this is not a completely terrible idea. The problem is the can of worms that's opening up, for me. So,
I get that, and I
like,
under
I
yeah.
feel like this is definitely leading towards a line of like exploiting customers who actually pay for these things.
It could go in that direction. I mean, you usually things like this happen in a more beneficial way, or like it's voluntary now, for instance, I guess. And then like later on, you might be forced to actually have to have Bluetooth on it and or Wi-Fi per se, and then like you have to register your drill through an app, and then you have to make sure that it can always connect to your phone, and then probably have to pay a subscription fee, like you said. Like the possibilities are there. I feel like that would be a more distant future if it were to happen. I don't really see it happening, but I can understand why you would see it that way because yeah, like as you said, it does open that can of worms.
I do also want to just note a little piece of infuriating quote here, actually,
Tell me.
because of course, this is obviously an attempt to sort of ward off thieves, correct?
Yeah.
We already have technology for that. Plastic cases, glass displays. Just put the expensive power tools behind a glass display that, requires a key to get inside or whatever, It's uh
Yeah, they can still
and
break
businesses
those, but it is like another wall that they have to get through.
is and of course if you break that wall or whatever, then an alarm goes off and people realize right away that you're stealing and then they can just like shut off close the door, lock the doors or put like one of those steel gates or whatever over it.
Yeah.
Like you can catch the thief right then and there if they're trying to be that brazen about it. Um, and of course, if they are somehow skilled in lockpicking, then they have to take the kind of lockpick in, and someone can like walk by. Because I don't know when's the last time you've been to a Home Depot, but there's a lot of store employees constantly walking around. So
Yeah.
like you can't really go like 2 minutes without one passing by. So if you're trying to lockpick to open the gate, they'll be like, "Hey," and then that's it. You're done. Stop. You violated the law. But
I mean, it's funny that you bring that up and that you specifically reference Oblivion there.
that's
Um,
exactly what I'm doing. Yeah.
yeah, because like a lot of employees, at least like to the Home Depots in my area or near my area, like just right outside of my area, a lot of the employees are honestly like Like they'll just straight up ignore you if they don't feel like helping you out. Even if you're like, "Hey, excuse me,
Oh,
can I get your
really?
help?" Yeah, so like I feel like they wouldn't even care like if people ended up stealing things from there. Like if they take a like a loose wrench or something, or let's say like a screw.
Well, it depends on store to store, but I do know for some places that apparently if there's someone who's like robbing you or trying to shoplift or whatever, you are sort of obligated to not fight that person or whatever, like in some of these stores, like
Yeah.
you have to do what you can to protect the assets, but in the end, if you like, say for example, you're running a cash register at say we're gonna say GameStop because I know GameStop has this policy that if someone's robbing a GameStop and they're telling you to take the money out of the register, you have to just do that.
Yeah.
Like to try and fight back and be a hero can actually get you fired because it's a huge like possible legal liability if you end up getting hurt and not have to pay that out and stuff like that. But
That's
regardless,
insane.
regardless, plastic cases and glass displays and stuff like that, that's a easy solution to, for asset protection that already exists. But, and I'm quoting from Business Insider here, plastic cases that must be opened by a store associate have become a common solution to ward off thieves, but for Home Depot's asset protection team, locking up all the valuable products seems like a move that could damage the brand, Glenn says. We certainly don't want to affect the 99.5% of our customers who are just there to pick up their hammers and nails. We don't want to look like an armed encampment. And that right there is proof in the pudding that this is not really that much just about protecting the assets, that they are in fact trying to lead down the path of subscription services, because that is a dumb take. That is a stupid take. Pardon my language there. That is a stupid take.
Yeah, your French is very strong there.
I do not feel like customers will not worry or care that much that the valuable power tools are hidden behind a glass display. They'll just think, of course, those are expensive power tools. They have to be behind a glass display.
Yeah.
So instead of quote unquote, damaging the brand and affecting the 99.5% of customers who are there to pick up their hammers and nails by inconveniencing them with glass displays, they're choosing to massively inconvenience and possibly exploit them in the future with the possibility of a subscription service instead. It's like, I don't know. I don't buy this. I don't buy that.
Right. You rent it.
Okay, you know that button. Hit that button.
There we go.
Yeah, I don't know, but this is a weird tech news piece that I feel like went from a tiny little corner to occupying its own little space in the episode. So,
And that's okay. I mean, like, this is like an important thing to discuss, I think.
I just found it extremely interesting.
Yeah, and it is. It certainly is. That Home Depot is taking that road instead of just like locking things up behind like a plastic case, or even just adding like one of those like spider wraps on it.
Yeah.
It didn't even cross my mind actually, like when you brought up the news, but yeah, like it would make more sense for them to do that, or to just like put things behind a display instead of implementing Bluetooth technology to make sure that these things cannot operate. Unless
it's just fascinating. Power tool DRM.
I think that they'll end up losing more inventory that way, actually, because like you even if the thief like runs off with the drill, they still have the drill. Home Depot still lost money on that drill, even if it doesn't work.
Of course,
for the thief, because the thief isn't going to come back to return it.
You can also, of course, open up a black market now where, people sort of take these drills, they crack into the software to enable it, and then sell that for a cheaper price. And all of a sudden,
possible, yeah.
You have black market power saws. It's very interesting.
Whoa, how did you get this? Through nefarious means.
Here's another situation that I'm thinking about that could be kind of weird. What happens if you buy it, it's enabled, stuff like that, but then later on down the road it just kind of glitches out and stops working, and you have to like go to the Home Depot store to re-enable it, but like you threw away the receipt because you're like, oh, it's already enabled. I don't need the receipt. And now they're like, you can't prove that you bought it, so they think you stole it. And now it's just like they refuse to re-enable your drill. It's
That's like how
like,
that
what do you
meme
do?
goes. Like, what the hell is even that? Kind of like how that meme goes. But yeah, I do. Yeah, like it can really be problematic in that sense.
It's a slippery slope. I feel.
Yeah.
I'm concerned, but
Yeah.
I suppose we should probably put a cap on it.
Indeed. Now, look, that's not to say that we are capping because we're only theorizing.
Of course.
But with that said, thank you so much for jumping onto tonight's episode of the Tech Summit podcast, even though it is only 12:16 p.m.
But I do feel like we've very much nailed that one.
I meant to do this. Yeah, but I mean, if things go on as we've been theorizing that they have been, there's a very big possibility that the customer could end up being screwed. So it is important to keep all of these things into consideration, but hopefully none of this will actually end up happening and we're just fear-mongering. Now, with that said, thanks again to all of you patrons now and all of you watching at the moment. If you would like to participate in the giveaway for the Razer Siren Mini in white, as well as some additional merch from the Tech Summit shop, then do make sure to pledge to the Patreon, because we do also have bonus episodes of the Tech Summit podcast over there, and we do upload early reviews over there too, usually a couple of days in advance, so that you guys can get the early scoop. And yeah, thanks so much for supporting
just
us.
really quick, we were fear-mongering about drills. We were not fear-mongering about the GPUs. Don't buy used GPUs. Yeah.
Right. It's been Francisco.
And Chris.
Enjoy.
Good night. Travel well.